Hello and welcome everyone to another Hostinger Horizons live stream. I hope everybody is super excited. We have a lot of amazing things that we want to cover today. So grab your popcorn, grab your water or coffee, whether it be morning or evening, wherever you're from. Say hi in the chat if you're watching live on YouTube or on X, and let us know where you guys are calling in from. We have actually a lot of great things we have planned for you today, with our main topic being how to start earning cash, how to, start building what's, stuff that you could do with Hostinger Horizons as kind of your companion and your friend in there, right? So we'll be taking a look at various different tips, and we do actually have something very special planned for you all today. So, hi, hello everyone, hello. I see the hellos popping into the chat. Hello, good morning, good evening. I can see people joining in from Johannesburg, from Namibia, from Norway. So it's a very international crowd like always. So it's always great to see you guys, whether you're a hardcore viewer or watching for the first time. No worries, sit back and relax. This is going to be a very fun ride. So we'll start off first with our main topic, right? So making that first $1,000 online. Now that might seem like a lot, right? For some people, it's like, yikes, that's like, how would you even reach that kind of amount? So we'll be discussing, multiple different ways of how that can happen, and even different stories of how it has happened before. So we'll be jumping into our agenda, of course, our main topics that we want to cover for today. So we'll do a quick little run through of what exactly Hostinger Horizons is. For those of you that are joining in for the first time and want to learn more about this platform, what it is, how it works, no worries, we got you covered. We're also going to be sharing some updates, so things that are happening, that happened, and we plan to implement into Hostinger Horizons, and a new segment called Built with Horizons, something I'm sure you all will very much appreciate, and some of you may have already participated in. And then we'll jump into our main thing, and we also have a very special guest today. I won't spoil who it is, but it's a very special person, and I'm sure they will provide a very nice and very fresh look on today's topic. And of course, as always, we have a great Q&A planned up for you all. All right, let's move on in, shall we? So, what exactly is Hostinger Horizons? Now, to put it very bluntly, think of it as your agent, your helper to create your website when you don't have that technical experience, or you don't even want to design your own website, right? Hostinger Horizons is the tool that allows you to enter your idea in a sentence, in 5 sentences, in 100 sentences even, right? And see it watch it happen in reality, right? In real time, your website will be built with the power of artificial intelligence and using the latest LLMs and models out there, right? So gone are the days where you have to program everything absolutely manually, right? And in with the times where anybody, whether you're a businessman, whether you have never touched a computer in your life, right? Just entering a simple sentence and making that your own website, your own reality is super easy now. So this is also a great place to publish and hold your project, right? So we offer fully working software out of the gate, as well as additional features like domains, email addresses, right? So if you have a professional website, you need a professional email address to go with that. And of course, hosting, right? Which is something that you need to make sure the website is online. So by offering that entire full package, you don't have to go to 10 different providers at the same time, right? And, knock on their door and say, hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. You have everything all in one place, all bundled up. No need to look anywhere else. It's also a fully international partner that supports 80 plus languages. So whichever country you're from, right, most of the languages that are supported, they are mostly the popular ones, right, of course. So feel free to chat with Hostinger Horizons by using your own, tongue, your own language that you use casually. And Hostinger Horizons is actually a very good alternative for those of you that don't like drag and drop builder types, right? So you have probably used drag and drop type, website building tools before, or if you haven't, then you can probably imagine the drag and drop means that you drag something in, you drop it into your website, but that can get kind of chaotic at times, right? When you're doing a lot of elements at the same time, moving them up and down, making sure margins are correct. Hosting Your Horizons handles all of that for you. So you don't even have to worry about, things like margins or sizes or anything like that. You can fully customize it, and it's also fully available, with just a simple chat window without having to, suffer arthritis from, using your mouse so much with the clicking and dragging. And of course, we do have a Horizons lottery today. So for those of you that are watching live, make sure to scan the QR code that you see on the screen. It will include a very short 4-question survey. So general questions, though, we want to know your opinion. What do you think about Hosting Your Horizons? If you have used it before, right? What is your experience? Stuff like that. And those of you that enter, at the end of today's live stream, we will pick out 5 lucky winners that will be getting 20 free messages. So if you're ready, you better be ready. So scan that code. I'll also drop the link for the form in the chat as well. So you guys will be able to, click on it through your mobile phone or whatever. And by the way, for those of you that are watching not live, but after a day, after a week, whatever time it would be for you, right? This particular lottery has probably already ended for you, but no worries, right? We hold lotteries every single event at this moment. So if you're interested in more, you can always join the next event, subscribe to our Hostinger Academy channel, and keep up with our live events. I'll also do a quick little reminder about this later. Next up, we have Hosting Horizons updates, of course. So in terms of updates, we have fully rolled out visual edits, code editor, and Cody, all of these integrations to everyone. Previously, we had released them in batches. Now you should all have these updates available, so they'll be really nice to make sure that you have more customizability in your website, right? And in terms of upcoming things, we are working to make sure you can see things like analytics and traffic and stuff like that, as well as better building logic. So to ensure that you have more to work with, right? More customizable, websites, more, different looking websites, more different variants and stuff like that. So hopefully these updates will be coming soon, and in the next few weeks we'll have even more for you guys to take a look at. Next up is Built with Hosting Your Horizons. So this is a completely new segment because we have recently launched this new, you could call it kind of like a program. It's called Built with Hosting Your Horizons. Now you can actually go into this page right now by going to hostinger.com/horizons/built. And what it is, it's a full-on showcase of all the projects that our users have created and submitted, right? So all you have to do is enter the page, submit your project, right, as one of the contenders, and if you get the most votes during that week, then you will win 100 free messages for Hosting Your Horizons. So we pick a winner every week. So this is another extra giveaway that we're doing, and you get to vote and check out other sites people have created, right? I saw some really interesting ones, and I know that last week the number one, the one that won first place, it was actually a website where you get to check where your local bars are, right? So it shows you like the nearest bar next to you, which I think is like super interesting, right? To create a website like that. And yeah, it's like really cool to see all the different creations. So make sure to visit, if not to submit your own project, then to, check out what other projects people have created. Maybe you will get inspired as well. So you'll be able to vote, right? And if you are one of the contenders, you might be one of the 3 people that wins 100 free messages, because we pick the top 3. So this is something completely new. I really hope you guys enjoy this new program that we have released. If you want it, you can go visit our page, hostinger.com/horizons/built, and you'll find all the information you need right there. Moving on forward, a quick little reminder about the lottery. So if you missed this before, here is the QR code again, so you can take a look at it for yourself, right? And scan the QR code, then complete the survey, and after that, you will be eligible to get 20 free complimentary messages, right? If you win the lottery, we'll be spinning the wheel, and we'll see who wins and who comes out on top. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of that, right? So let's move on over to our main topic for today, right? So making money and what kind of ideas can we make use of with Hostinger Horizons. Now, I have picked out 5 ideas that I think are almost universal in a type of way, right? That you can easily use with Hostinger Horizons, but there are so many more that we could take a look at, right? And I'll also share a quick little playbook that you guys can actually see for yourselves and try it out for yourselves, try that logic and kind of get into that business mindset, because it really does matter if you want to start, earning cash, if you want to start, you want to start hustling, you want to start, becoming a really successful person, you gotta, start strong. You gotta be motivated. You gotta do all the things. So let's jump in with the first one. 3 simple ideas, right? First one is landing pages done in 24 hours. So it's a very fast and very easy process, right? By using Hostinger Horizons, you could draft up a very simple landing page, right? You can use other AI tools for copy, for testimonials, for imagery, right? And use these as kind of your promotion, right? So promoting any types of services, maybe even creating a landing page for one of your, family members, your local businesses, right? Whether that be, I don't know, a dentist's office, whether that be a bakery of some kind, a salon, right? All of these are very valid variants, right? Everybody wants to be seen and heard. Everybody wants, more customers. And what better way to get more business than to have a very nice looking website? And that's where Hostinger Horizons comes in and makes that a reality for you, right? Second option right here we have is social content tools for creators. So we all know that influencers are a dime a dozen these days. So if you ever take a look anywhere, you always see people posting selfies, posting pictures, right? And stuff like that. And, not everybody is super inspired to write these days. So we have all those different tools, or maybe people don't really know, what exactly to do to hook their audience in. So you can create various different tools to help those creators. They could be your friends, they could be your local creators in your own city, right? And you can also just easily reach out to them and say, hey, I see that, you do a lot of this and that. So maybe this tool that I created for you might be useful. And if you can charge them for it, then hey, they might be using it for the rest of their life, and you'll be getting some cash at the side. So it's a very standard, simple idea that you guys can make use of right here. And make sure to include additional features like, exporting history, and maybe even some kind of additional services included, maybe even running ads on the site as well. And our third one is niche micro SaaS wrappers. So this would be to solve a very specific problem for micro businesses, right? So let's say the kind of examples that I had written down here is compress and subtitle vertical videos for Etsy sellers, right? Or auto-generate GDPR cookie policies for SMEs. So if you think of a very specific niche and a very specific, business or a service of some sort, you can find that there's always room for improvement, always room for automation, always room to make things, work better or cheaper or faster. So that's where you can come in and you can create those tools that they would need, right, to make sure that they have a very reliable way to solve those small issues and stop wasting paper or, optimize their own employees. This could also be a CRM type of system, right, that manages either employees or employee data, or maybe even manages client accounts and stuff like that, right? So it's multiple ways that you could go about this, but one of the main important parts is, identifying that niche. And you can always take a look around you. I know, unless you live somewhere in the mountains and you have nobody else around you, then you can always take a look online, right, what people are doing. But if you live in a city or a smaller town, right, you can always take a look around in your own, area. What kind of people, what kind of businesses are there? What kind of help do they need, right? And it's always the hardest part is being brave about it, right? And actually asking those very important questions. So I really hope you guys get into that. Now, I have 2 more ideas right here. So one of them is local business automations, right? So offering automated services for your local businesses. So in this case, I offered something like an AI receptionist, right? So this could be something for like a salon, right? Or like a dentist. You could also think of something like an auto calculator, right, for services or of some sort, right? No longer having to scroll through like 100 different price tags, right? You could have like a calculator set up inside of your website that could calculate the price dynamically, right? All with the help of vibe coding and hosting your horizons, a little this, a little this, a little that, right? And setting up things like messaging, all of that super easy through things like webhooks. So you could also do that and maybe even create something like a dashboard as well to go with it. So by identifying those local businesses, I'm sure you guys can find various different ideas to make use of that. And last but not least, it's micro courses and workshops. So everybody has, their own niche where they are very strong or where you feel very confident in. So by using that and, covering multiple different topics, right, through a course of some kind of workshop, right, as long as you do it professionally, right, there's no real need for, super insane equipment. As long as you have the confidence to showcase what you want to say, you can always do it very easily. So that's what you got to do. You got to just jump right in, right, and create some courses, create some workshops, right, and then you can also charge people for those, right, to attend, maybe even gather reviews, testimonials, and then start things like marketing. So it's also a very simple way to go about it. I added some very simple variants right here, like launching your first AI assisted website tonight, right? Which is a very nice hook for a course, I'd say, or automating client onboarding with vibe coding, right? Also a very nice thing that people might actually want to see and hear. So these are 5 very simple, but actually very easy to implement ideas that require no investment whatsoever. And I've also prepared a playbook for you guys. So it's kind of 6 main I'd say like rules you could actually go through to get to that entire place, right? Not talking about those 5 particular ideas. This could cover any idea at all, right? But starting first is you gotta pick some kind of niche, right? Some kind of user and see what their common problem is, right? Like what kind of common issues are they facing? You could go to your local bakery, you could go to your local salon or dentist, right? And just ask them, so what kind of website would actually fix, this kind of issue for you? And there you go. You actually have a client already, a person that is interested because you want to solve a problem that they have and they're willing to pay for it, right? And you got the skills, you got the tools to do it with vibe coding and all those other AI tools out there. Second, validate that stuff in 48 hours. So speed is also very important. You want to validate that idea and make sure that it's something that you can do, right? Something that you can handle and something that is worth doing, right? For the price tag. So if you're going to spend 100 hours on one very simple, little landing page and get like $10 out of that, it's not really worth your time, right? You want to make sure that you're doing it fast and you're doing it quick. Third thing is building it with hosting your horizons, of course, and using all those other AI tools. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, right? Grok, whichever ones you prefer, right? Whether it be for research, market research or anything like that, whether it be for text, right? Or video or maybe images or audio of some sort. You can use all those other AI tools. They are all available online and many, 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 many more out there. Fourth is standing out and performing marketing. Now, if you are just a regular person who comes in and says, hey, I could do this for you, right? Sure, why not? You got to stand out a little bit. You got to, showcase that you're not just your average Joe. You want to go in there and you want to showcase, your real talents, your real strengths, and why those strengths are super important for the people that you are going to be doing those ideas for, doing those websites for, right? And of course, marketing. So you got to know how to market yourself, your own business, right? And what you're doing. So you got to make sure that you know your audience, what they need, what they want. So apply all of that and you have for yourself a very confident and very strong marketing strategy already. Because you know your niche, you know where you're going into, and you all have all the resources to do it. Next up, fifth is keeping it simple, but keeping it fast, right? So just like I mentioned before, you gotta, when you validate that idea, you gotta make sure that you're doing it quickly, right? And you're keeping it simple. You don't want to go through 100 different iterations, right? That, of course, will depend on the project that you're doing, right? So if it's a bigger project, maybe it's a little bit out of your scope in that case, right? Or maybe the price should also be different for something like that. But in any case, you want to keep it simple, you want to keep it fast, kind of rapid fire through those different, money making ideas, through all those businesses, through all of those, kind of startups or anything, that you want to go into. And last but not least, iterating, right? After you followed all those 5 steps, you want to iterate and you want to improve, right? Because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, well, how can you expect a different result, right? So that's why where you got to iterate, you've got to make changes, you've got to make improvements, right? And be critical, not only to yourself, right, but to your work, to what you do, and also ask for that feedback very candidly as much as you can from either your own clients, your friends, family members, anybody, right? So that feedback will be very essential for your growth and it will help you out. And of course, last but not least, I'd also added a little extra, so not giving up. Because if you want to be, into business, if you want if you want to, dive deep into the waters, you've got to have the strength to do it, right? If you're going to just go under for a minute or so and come back up for air, right, and say, oh no, I can't do it, well then, what's the point in trying at all? So what you got to do is you got to go in and go in deep, right? And don't give up. That's like a hard thing to say and even a harder thing to do sometimes, right? Not giving up, especially if you've been shut down 1, 2, 5, 10, 100 times, right? But, learning from failure is what leads you to success and what makes you, a better you in the future. So I really hope you guys take that word to heart. And one last thing that I wanted to mention as well right here, right? If we were to follow that playbook, I thought of a very, simple scenario. Let's say I live in a pretty small town, but I have a local community that I meet with all the time, right? And we have our own pets that we, our own dogs that we walk all together. It seems like a very simple and mundane thing, but thinking about it, like, those people, they also share a common problem, right? They probably want to show off their pets to other people. They maybe want to post pictures. Maybe they want to do something, extra. Maybe they want to like organize events, and invite more people to join, the pet clubs and stuff like that. So by taking all of these ideas into an account, but just by using something very simple, like a simple hosting your horizons prompt, right? You can build something like that already, right? So in this case, it's kind of like a dog community, right? Like a dog forum where people can upload their own pictures, add descriptions for their pets, right? You could even add specific categories, filters. You could add different kinds of threads that you could follow as well, right? So this is a very simple way of going about it, right? A very simple idea, but if you have that business mindset, you know where the money comes from. So right here, you can start adding premium features. You can start, running ads on your website. You can start, marketing. You can start growing that community. And who knows, maybe this, possum forum could be the next Facebook. So, nobody knows what is going to be happening in the future, but you always gotta, go on in with your head held high and go in strong, because that's what's going to make a difference. So that's a little bit it for my motivational speech right here for you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I really hope, some of you take inspiration from these things that I mentioned today. It's not necessarily the same things that you have to do for everything. Some people will do it differently, right? Some people will do steps in a different, manner, different way. Different scenarios apply all the time. Super, so many variables to think about. But all that matters is that you're trying and you're doing it well. Now, we have a super special segment that I wanted to showcase for you guys. It's a special guest that we have invited here today. His name is Kaden, and he will showcase his own success story with hosting your horizons. So, everybody, give it up for Kaden.
Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going? I'm good. Glad to be here. Glad to finally be. On this live stream. We've been talking about this for a while now, and I've been super excited to get out all the information that I've learned through my journey with hosting Horizons to you guys and show kind of a first person perspective of how to actually use hosting Horizon in one way to make a good amount of money and start your own business. So, a little bit about myself. I'm from the United States. I'm about to be 20 years old here in a few days at a Ohio University, and I'm studying business over here, finance and entrepreneurship. I like to keep myself secure with having a college degree in case things go south. But my whole life, I've just been involved with business and starting my own business, and that's really just been just the absolute thing I live for. Like everyone else, I have hobbies and stuff. Snowboarding is another huge one that I love doing, playing basketball with friends, just getting active, lifting as well, keeping myself in shape. And then obviously business takes over pretty much the rest of my time. But like I was saying before, my business mindset really started from a young age. I would have these little play sets of restaurants and I would serve meals to my parents in exchange for a dollar or some cents or something. And I don't know, I just love the process of going through and starting something like that. So eventually, when I was old enough, I was able to start my own business in about eighth grade. So I was 14 at the time, and this was during the COVID era. Um, I was trapped in my house and I really love designing things. So I wanted to start a clothing brand. And as a lot of people do, I started a cringy clothing brand, threw it up on Instagram. I didn't really know what I was doing, but my friends were supportive enough and I got some good orders. So that really kicked things off. And ever since then, I've started probably over 10 different types of businesses, just dipping my feet in the water. But one thing I will say, if you guys are trying to start a business, is stick to one thing and lock in. It's really easy to be like, oh, this would work. And then you kind of jump around and, you never really get to a point where you can make enough money. But, um, all through high school, I went through years of failure of businesses, obviously, and humiliation from other people. Not everyone's going to understand what you're doing and why you want to do it. So they're going to talk behind your back to you and say things that aren't of the nice sort. So it's all a part of the process. It strengthens you and makes you a better person overall as an entrepreneur. One of the things I was doing was reselling AirPods and reselling clothes that were in trend at the time. So a lot of people were actually interested in my products because that was the stuff that they bought. And that was, I think, when I was around 17 years old. So that was my first, I guess, successful business. I made a good amount of money that summer. And from there, I realized the potential of giving people what they want, solving some sort of problem. And from there, I've applied that to every business since then, and obviously to my business now, which I will talk about soon. But my true passion, the one thing that really gives me that complete feeling when I do something is being able to help someone else make money. I've tried to start businesses that's directly to the consumers, so I'm selling to somebody else who's just going to use the product. And, that's a nice feeling, but I know that the trade-off is, they just get a product and I get the money. And, the money's nice, but I want to do something that's going to set someone else up. So that's why I started getting into what's called freelance brand scaling, which I will get into next. If we could go into the next slide, please. Thank you. Um, yeah, so my journey with hosting Horizon, like I said, I started with freelance brand scaling, which is pretty much running advertisements for clothing brands or any local service based business. And that was a turning point this winter when I started doing that because I understood everything that a business would need. So, all the businesses that I started in the past, I just applied everything and I really went in on this. Um, There's no startup cost to this, so I thought that that was also a major plus side. And eventually it brought me to make my first website, which was with Hostinger, not Horizons at the time, it was not launched, but Hostinger. A friend sent me a referral link. I signed up and I made my first website for people to apply to so I could run their ads. And it was a super easy process. At the time it was drag and drop, but even at that, I love the simplicity of Hostinger. And then a few months later in the springtime, Hostinger Horizons launched. And I saw major potential with this as I was trying to redesign my website and trying to add some features that maybe I couldn't do in the first place. So I used Horizons. I got a good plan at the time and was able to make a really nice website that caught a lot of eyes within the brand scaling community that I was in. I'm in a lot of discords and stuff that showcase and help people with freelance brand scaling, and I was showing more and more people this feature that Hostinger launched, and people would love it. Websites were popping up left and right in these communities, and it really started to put the Hostinger name with my name. So people would come to me with their problem of, hey, how do I do this? Or, what's a good prompt for setting this up? And I realized the demand for such a fast turnover of a website because not only do people in my space need it, but people outside, like we were saying before, with service-based businesses, they need it as well. So like I said, I built an even better site with mine and it was starting to help people, saw the automated potential, and I started to teach others. So I really implemented my own sector within a Discord, and people would come to me whenever they needed help. And eventually, I started to create what's called the Horizon Hustler Kit, which is not out. It will be out September 1st. But pretty much what I'm working on is building a website inside Hosting Horizons to teach people how to use Hosting Horizons to make money. It's an all in one tutorial place. So you can go in there with files and resources and step by step videos that I walk you through of how to actually make a website and sell it and try to bring in some good money from this business. This is more or less a side hustle, but this is a monthly subscription that I'm going to be charging for. And every month I'm going to update it more and more, teaching people how to actually scale up past the first steps and maybe go into an agency uh, business model where you could get other people that potentially to bring in clients and they would get a commission from that. But we could go really in depth this, but that is pretty much the basis of what I'm building here. I'm super, super excited to launch this. I'm super excited for hosting Horizon to add more features so you guys can build even better websites and I can build better websites. It's an amazing tool. I'm so glad this came out. And yeah,
Awesome, awesome, Kaden. Thanks very much.
of
I
course.
know people in the chat also were pretty excited to hear all of that. So thanks a lot for sharing your own experience, and how Hostinger has kind of like helped you to not just become like a regular, businessman, but kind of like an incubator almost for, like new businesses, which I think is super amazing, right? Having the opportunity to do that, really cool. Now, I do actually have a question for you, Kaden, as well that I wanted to ask. So, what would you say is, the main reason, let me rephrase that a little bit. What do you think is the main thing that Hostinger has provided for you that allowed you to kind of blossom into this like new business, oriented person?
Yeah, so really the fast turnover, like I was saying before with AI overall, but with hosting a horizon of how fast and easy it is to do something. Usually there's some sort of system or process that you have to go through, and people make it seem so easy online and before AI really came out, and but you still had to go in and do a lot of back end work. where we really put our word to what we're doing in terms of how fast this can actually build a website. And really, like I said, how easy it is, throwing a few sentences in chat and being able to build a part of your website that could have taken hours to code. Or when people go on Reddit or any other sort of forum page and they are trying to copy codes that, hey, this does this, just paste it in this file, you know that's not an easy thing for everyone to do. So being able to just type it out and ask it to do something, I mean, the ideas can start rolling off the bat and you can just type them in. And that's what I really like about this, is because usually it's such a turnoff to people of how long it takes to do something, not even from my end, but from the other end, a business waiting to get their website. It would be thousands of dollars and then it would take weeks to complete, maybe even months, depending on the size of the website. But now it's, I could get you this website tomorrow. And that's really a good selling point to other businesses. And that's what people want, is just, to not have wasted time. So when there's time wasted, that really devalues the price that you put on your project. So the fact that you can have a fast turnover rate and a cheaper price is just golden for any business, let alone this one.
Exactly, exactly. Thanks for that, extensive answer. I do have one more question for you though. I wanted to ask, what is your number one tip that you would give to any new business that's trying to, get started right now?
It's a good question. That's a good question. Um, the biggest tip I would say for anyone really trying to start a business is stick to one thing. And I know I said this before, but this really, I see this a lot, especially because, all through high school, I was doing stuff that I wasn't really in communities for. I was just kind of freeballing it myself. And I didn't understand that it takes time to build a business. And even this method being as quick as it is and being able to probably make your first $1,000 pretty quick with it, um, you know, any business model, there needs to be a strong foundation and things that build around it before you can actually start. So if you're going to start a business, make sure you understand everything. You need to know all aspects of the business before you jump in and start trying to sell something, because if you're trying to sell something you're not 100% confident in yourself, then it probably won't sell. People can read through the lines, people can see through in a way of how confident you are in your product and your service.
Awesome. I think that's also a wonderful tip. Something that kind of I mentioned as well, right? That confidence that's really key, When I always think about the same situation, that when people say, if you're confident enough, you can get in anywhere. Even walk into the White House if you're confident
Yeah,
enough, right? So, it really does matter, like kind of the motivation you put behind yourself, because that driving force is so essential to, reaching any kind of success. So I think
100%.
that's a very amazing tip. Thanks a lot, Caden.
Of course, of course.
Now, we'll move on over to a Q&A session. So, guys, if you have, well, guys, I'm saying chat in this case, chat, if you have any questions, please let us know. We'll mark your questions here. Maybe you have some questions for Caden as well. They could be business related if he has an answer, or if not, then we'll also figure something out. Or if you have any questions about hosting your horizons as well. So feel free to let us know in the chat. In the meantime, I will be closing out the form for the lottery. So let me just make sure that I have all of your guys's replies right here. I see that we did receive quite a bit actually. So I'm going to be taking those and I'm going to be putting them on a wheel so that we could spin it, and then we'll see who will be those lucky winners, right? Let's take a look. Do we have... oh, I see somebody asked the question of when will 100 messages come back. So These 100 messages for Built with Hostinger Horizons, they are issued directly to those users that win, to those projects, right? You should receive an email actually when you are the winner of one of those three placements, and you should receive an email that you need to confirm, right? To make sure that you're answering the questions that are provided, to confirm your own identity so that we could offer up those 100 messages. I see there's actually a very interesting question right here by KW Solutions. So it's for you, Kaden, in this case. So where would you publish to, expose your projects or, your business, let's say in this case?
Yeah, so if you really want to get your projects out there, the biggest thing is building a community around your name first. People buy not because of what you're selling for the most part, but what they're buying it or who they're buying it from. So if you're really trying to get a project out there, it's important to have some sort of foundation of community of people to support you. If I go on the street with a ton of flyers and I'm starting to hand them out, but no one knows who I am, then it kind of just degrades what I'm selling. But if I was a person of some sort of familiar, um, you know, celebrity of some sort, then I go out there and people are coming to me for the flyers. So that's a very simple, general, I guess, example. But pretty much when you want to sell something, you have to have some sort of community. And if you want to build that community, you have to get yourself out there too. So get yourself known in the space that you're trying to get into and get yourself out there on Instagram, especially. I think that's one of the best tools. And just start talking to people. I mean, that's really the biggest thing. If you try to go in here without any sort of, um, you know, community or any sort of some maybe a mentor, someone who's already done this before, then it's going to be a lot harder. So just getting out there, networking, that's a huge thing, and people will help you.
Awesome. Very, very nice answer, by the way. I think that should pretty much cover that for a while as well. I see there's a question by Karim, who also has something very similar in mind. He asks, what is the best way you have used to market your service, tools or techniques and pricing strategy? What would you say in this case, Caden?
So one of the things that I did to kind of market my service, was I went on Instagram, and like I was saying before, I just started to DM companies and get my name out there. So one of the biggest things that I was doing was sending voice memos or videos instead of just text, especially since my profile didn't have any pictures at the time. I mean, I had a profile picture, but people really couldn't see who I was, which if you do have an Instagram page, I do recommend that you have some sort of personal photos on there, if it's not a business account. But for my case, it was kind of like a personal business account. Um, yeah, but I would reach out to companies. I would send sort of a personal voice memo or a video, and just kind of that hard work every day of sending out those messages to get my name out there. And by the next morning, I would have about 30 responses after sending 100 the previous day, and it really helps with the somebody watching your video or you're listening to your voice memo or reading your text message at first. They want to have some sort of personal connection, and like I was saying before, that's why people buy from who they know or what it is. So yeah, I mean, just having a personal connection to other people, and going on Instagram, DMing people is the best way to start off and market your service. If you have extra money laying around, you can get into your own advertisements. That's another thing that I've been running for other businesses after I built them websites, is running their advertisements, because that's what I was doing before. But yeah, I mean, it's really when you start out just doing the hard work of DMing people and letting other people know about your service, and then you kind of slowly scale up to there. Um, the ball's really going to move slow at first, but when you start to understand how your business works and how other people respond to your business, the ball starts moving faster and faster and faster, and eventually you will get to where you want to be.
Exactly. Right. Let's take a look at a few other questions. I see there's one by Bill Getch, so I'll probably cover this one. He says, if you build an app, should you also have a related website? Use subdomains for app or website. So it really does depend on the purpose, right? If you have your main website as kind of like your main landing place where you want your people to mainly go to, and if you have sub-services like an eShop, for example, right, that's a perfect way to use a subdomain. So eshop.mywebsite.com, right? So it could be, this kind of way. You could also integrate it directly into your own website. There are multiple ways that you could go about it, actually. But if you want to combine them and, make use of that, I would say it's best to use, apps as subdomains if they are serving a particular purpose, like a forum, a blog, an e-shop of some sort, right? But if they are your main place where you want to land your people, then it should be your main domain in that case. Hope that answers your question there. I see there's a question also by Lioness Pride. They ask, can you add Google AdSense to your site built on Horizons? Yes, you actually can. So all you have to do is just integrate Google AdSense, right? So if you ask Hosting Your Horizons directly, it will tell you how to do that, what kind of information it needs, and where exactly you should go in order to get that information. So feel free to just ask directly, and you'll be getting that info very easily. I see there's also another question for you, Kaden. This one comes from Johnny B, and he says, what was the best way to build your traffic and community? Go Buckeyes.
Yes, go Buckeyes. Um, yeah, so I guess this kind of ties into what I was saying before, but from a personal standpoint, how I kind of built my community was I started off, I was in a Discord that had a good amount of people in it, and I just kind of worked of giving others advice when I found advice. And eventually, after a few months, I worked up to a kind of like co-manager of the Discord. Um, it has a high ticket option where people pay a few $1,000s and they get really in-depth one-on-one service from the owner of the Discord who I'm good friends with. And then I kind of started to handle the daily, I think it was like $40 a month that people pay to kind of get the general information for brand scaling and website development. Um, but I worked my way up by just kind of staying active, which I think is another huge part is staying active when you're in your community and in your space. And it starts to bring other people, and other people talk about you, and other people start to realize that, hey, this guy, he's not trying to sell something. He's just very knowledgeable and he knows what he's doing. So I'm going to come and follow him. Um, and that really just alone, I didn't even try to do that, started to bring in people. And I realized after a while that that's what was doing it. And again, through the past few months, I'm going to start applying that to the application I'm going to be launching soon and any future business, just building off of what I know. And yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. I think we might have time for one more question. I'll probably be able to handle this one right here by Ibrahim. He asks, if Horizons adds something new as per request and project, and when it's done, if that web app getting an error, then why do we need one extra message credit to fix it? Shouldn't Horizons be responsible? In a way, yes, right? But Horizons already tries to do that. Horizons already tries to actively find any errors in the code that it generates, that it creates, right? But it can't find absolutely all of them. And when it's time for the preview, right, it's then when it goes, oh, wait, so something isn't really working exactly as it should. But it could be stuck in kind of like a perpetual loop, you could say, if that were to happen, right? So it would keep fixing, but if it still doesn't work, it would keep fixing, but it still doesn't work, keep fixing. So it's kind of like a forever running machine at that point. But we are doing our best to reduce the error rate as much as possible to make sure that Horizons picks up more errors, more issues that happen when you're prompting, so that you wouldn't have to use those extra prompts, for fixing a particular issue or a particular error. And I think Kaden also probably has experienced that one or two times as well.
Yep. 100%.
All right. Nice. Okay, so I see that's pretty much it for today. So let's actually go and take a look who are the 5 lucky winners, okay? So let me actually share my screen with you guys. I have everything set up right here. We have our little wheel of fortune. So hope you guys are excited. We're going to be spinning the wheel 5 times, right? And I'll be reaching out to those people that have won. You'll be getting your 20 messages within the next few days. So cross your fingers and let's go. Our first winner of today is Natalia. Natalia, congratulations. You're a winner of 20 free Hosting Your Horizons messages. Everyone clap for Natalia. Let's move on over to our second winner, and it's going to be... Ahmad. So, Ahmad, congratulations. You're a winner of 20 free Hosting Your Horizons messages. Hopefully you'll use them well, and you'll apply all the things that we talked about today. Now, 3rd time's the charm, they say. So who's it going to be this time? And it's John. Congratulations, John. And you're going to be getting those 20 free messages as well. We'll be moving on over to our 4th winner of today. So it's going to be Kenneth. Congratulations, Kenneth. You're also a winner of 20 free messages. Now, this is the time where we start curling up our toes and praying, right? So, the last and 5th winner of 20 free complimentary Hosting Your Horizons messages is going to be Shailesh R. Patel. Congratulations, Shailesh. I hope you're going to be using those messages as well. So we have our 5 winners of today. Congratulations to those of you that have won. If you haven't won, don't worry. We have more events coming in the future. Now, all you have to do is subscribe to our Hostinger Academy channel if you want to be kept up to date on all the newest stuff that we're going to be putting out. This includes live streams. This includes actually videos that are going to be super useful on how to, let's say prompt engineer, how to, use different kinds of marketing products to enhance your business and stuff like that. So many cool things. So like, share, and subscribe to Hostinger Academy channel. Our team does a lot to make sure that we have a lot of great content prepared. And make sure to join our Discord, of course. So you can find our Discord by using this QR code or by copying the link that you see on the screen right there. Our Discord server is full of like-minded individuals and people who are constantly asking the simple questions, right? And the difficult questions of, how should I prompt this? Or how should I fix this, right? How should I do that? And we even have our own community champions that work as your own ambassadors, right? So people that have been super active in our community that are representing you guys, the people that are using, Hosting Your Horizons, and they are your voice. So if there ever are any issues or anything that needs help with, they will always be there to stand for you and let us know. We take it very seriously. But yeah, it's very nice to see you all. So I really hope that everybody enjoyed today's session. I know I did. I think it was also motivating. It was energetic, right? And I think Kaden's presentation was also really nice. So we're going to be saying goodbye to you guys for tonight. Thank you very much for joining in, whether you're watching live or not. If you actually stayed up to this point, then damn, props to you actually. But yeah, we're going to be saying goodbye. Hope you all have a nice morning, evening, or wherever you are, right? Whatever time it is. And I'll see you all guys in the next Hosting Your Horizons live stream. Bye-bye.
Got a $1 billion web app idea? Now you can turn it into reality with Hosting Your Horizons. To start, just tell Horizons what you want to create and instantly receive the first version. Preview your project and make edits as you go by chatting with the AI. With one click, publish your creation and share it with the world. Connect your own domain straight from within the interface. No coding, no extra setup. With Hosting Your Horizons, you get effortless web app creation, hosting, email, and more. Go to hostinger.com and turn your ideas into reality.